Hi, I'm Connie Whitman, your host, and you're listening to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.net. As always, thank you so much for joining me this week. My motivational quote today is actually by my guest, Simona Manenti, and she says, "You have this tremendous gift of unearthing the most deeply rooted traumas as the cause of one's struggles and liberate them of their pain in just minutes." Now, do you ever feel stuck in your current situation? Maybe you hate your job, but you need the money. So what do? You deal with it. Or are you in a relationship that maybe feels stifling, but you're afraid of being alone? And are you able to think clearly enough to be able to move forward and change your situation? Sometimes we're not. What if I told you that all the answers you need to move forward to live a joyful life is within you right here, right now? Would you even believe me? Probably not. It's tough to believe that you have the power within you. If these questions of having control over your life are haunting you, well, then you are truly in store for a treat today. My guest, like I said, is Simona Manenti. And Simona is a spiritual healer, teacher, artist, and author, channeler of angels, my favorite, divine beings, and spirit guides. Now, Simona demonstrates profound, liberating, and life-changing healing. Through spiritual guidance and valuable tools, she outlines the past by shining a light on the inner world of limitations, subconscious programming, and fears. Now, Simona navigates through the inner world and brings clarity, acceptance, and resolution to all aspects of the self, allowing the balance of the mind, body, and soul, giving you the key to live life with an open heart, peace of mind, and newfound joy, enabling the awakening of all the potential and possibilities you have in your life journey. So please help me welcome my wonderful, wonderful guest today, Simona. So Simona, thank you so much for being on.
Oh, thank you, Connie, so much for having me. And that was a beautiful introduction. You're
Oh,
awesome.
well, the intro, most of it was your credentials, which by the way are, yes, awesome. I would agree with that. But I like to I like to look for a thoughtful quote. So when I saw your quote, I think it was on your website, I was like, oh, that's so perfect. And I used it, obviously. And then that introduction, I don't know, Simona, I feel like so many of us, we feel stuck in our everyday lives. And when you're stuck, you don't know the way out. We can't fight our way out of it. And you're going to talk really today about, it's not about fighting our way out of it. It's just doing truly some soul searching. And you have wonderful tools to help your clients do that, right?
I do actually, and I really, it's one of my favorite things to do, and to help people really finding a way out or wherever they find themselves in the darkness. And it's not good, and I, for one, have been there so many times. So these are things that I've learned, through my guides for myself, but also as I work with, and now I've been working with people for many years, and it's always, there's always such a relief to be able to help people find that little bit of glimmer of light that gets them into a different place. And it really, oftentimes, more often than not, what I encounter 90% of the time really is the fact that we have these programmings that have been there since we were children. And these programmings are really creating everything in our lives because they change who we are, and they change our perspective, and they change how we handle then everything in the world. But the universe is also there to help us kind of say, hey, it's time to get rid of this programming. But not everybody knows how to read that type of communication, because it's like getting a message from a foreign language and nobody's really paying attention to. So it's quite difficult, and I know the struggles, and my purpose is to want to help as many as I can, finding a better and faster way to just get out of the way, actually.
Yeah, to get out of our own way, because we're
Yes.
so good at getting in our own way. It's ridiculous. It's so funny. More and more we're hearing different modalities of healing, that subconscious programming. I did research for another show. 90% of how we live our life is through our subconscious. So we're not even in control, from a mindful standpoint, which is a little scary. So let's start, we talk about healing and the different modalities, and people go, well, what does that mean? So why don't you tell us the type of healing that you actually do? We'll start with that first.
Yeah, well, the way I do it, it's I don't really have a specific way because I'm blessed to have an enormous team of angels and guides and all kinds of deities and beings that they always guide me to find the right answers for for each person that I have in front of me. And that's the beauty of, of the type of healing that I do, because for each person, they'll get specific into what it's really affecting them. So it's not, because we really can't generalize how someone handle a trauma. We are so very different, complex, and in so many layers that even though the trauma may be similar for many, each one of us interpret it in a very different way. So anything that has affected us at different points in life, especially in the early ages, it describes, it actually imprints a programming that is both on a cellular level. It's why it really affects the physical body and also the energy body. And then it's finding that core programming and changing it. And it's the same, it's similar to having a different truth about ourselves. And most people, we usually create that between the age of 3 and 7. After that, anything that we gather, it's just compounding to what we already, embraced. So the way that I work is that as I'm talking to people and my guides are showing me and also talking to me about what the person is actually experiencing, I also get information about what, the trauma of the person. So even if the person has forgotten or hasn't made the connection just yet, I get that information. So I'm the bridge that then connects the person's consciousness to the subconscious programming that is there. Energetically, I maneuver through in between the energy as well. So in a way, it's like, I think some people also call it biofilm, but to me, energy is way just as important as the physical body. So if you have a cold, it's likely that, you can get a pill, you can go to the store, you get a pill. But if energetically you have a cold, the person has to be able to know why is the cold there and what has given you the cold and how to change that. So I can actually change the energy, and I feel it as I work with people. And I call them shift. So most of the time during a session, if a person shifts about 3 to 4 times, it's actually really, really good, which is, it also means that within probably a month, their life changes pretty much,
Wow.
turns around, completely. So, and I've had many, many people coming back to me and stating that. And, and again, I've had also people where, and I don't know if this is pertinent to questions, but I feel like, I'm hearing that I need to talk about it. I get a lot of people that will say, oh, I worked on this already. But the thing is that let's say we're working on something like safety or trust, and the trust was first infringed or slightly damaged around the age of 3. By the time you're 4 or 5 or even 7, you actually have many, many layers on top of that trust. The trust could be connected to you feeling safe safe in the environment. The trust could be connected to feeling that you're being heard, or to feelings that you're being valued, or to your self-worth. So you may be working on a trust issue with someone, with a healer, or even with a therapist, and it may address one of the bubble of core issues, but then once you heal that, you'll be able to actually move on to the next layers, or a way that affects you. So, yes.
It's interesting. You said a couple of things. So first, my first question is, you said that you feel the person's energy, I guess, or struggle. Does that hurt you?
It doesn't. I mean, I feel it, I see it, and I hear it. So for me, I'm very visual. Actually, all my clairs are very, very open. To me, it's like when I work with someone, and actually all the time, it's like being in a room with many different screens of TVs that they're playing a movie. I got computers that they're saying something, radios that they're talking. So it's like
Wow.
it's a multi-level information that comes in and all the time, and it's not difficult. I've learned. It's funny that when I was younger, it would interfere without me knowing the reasons why, and it was overwhelming. But now that I'm actually working with my abilities, it's actually easy for me to manage and to go around. But the way that I use all my senses, so both the energetic senses, but also my physical body, because it gives me information that otherwise I wouldn't have. So sometimes it can be painful at times, but it's not my pain, it's the person's pain. So I don't really care, because I know as I feel it, I also know when we're getting rid of it, which really helps me, because then I know how far to push the person to get them to a different level of consciousness. All I want is for the person that I work with to get as much as they can out of the session and to walk
Yeah.
out of there with something that it will be with them for the rest of their lives. And something that is actually, you can say that is done, that you don't ever have to go back and do it again. So the physical body, the sensation that I get helps with that. I also have, oh, sorry, go
No, I
ahead.
was going to say, so you're multidimensional. Well, first you customize depending on the person, if I'm hearing you correctly, but you use all of your senses to be able to do that customization. Because even if the trauma is the same, the person and how they got that original trauma could vary. So the work to kind of unload it, I would
Yeah,
think is different. That's what you're
yeah,
saying, right?
absolutely.
Now,
Yes,
now who? Okay, so who does the healing? Do you take over and say, okay, I've got this, and you start driving the person's body,
no,
so to speak?
no, no, no.
No, okay.
I'm just a translator. It's like I don't even have the steering wheel. I'm in the car and I'm the bridge. I'm the bridge because there's all these beings and people that are working on the person at the same time. Like they may be the person sometimes may not even know that they're getting etheric surgery as we're talking. Things are being pulled, and it's those that are more sensitive to energy that actually may feel it, like a shiver or get chills, or they'll feel something lifted off of them, so they feel lighter, that kind of thing. I just, because I'm able to see it, being the witness, and that's the basic of energy. If you're witnessing something happening, that it's happening. So even on the quantum physics level, energy only responds to that of which to whatever consciousness is there. That means that a consciousness becomes a witness. So I am the witness of the doing. I'm just a vehicle of something that is happening, occurring, and me witnessing gives credibility or belief to that. And if someone sees it, then it's happening. Energy goes into an inertia state of inertia, meaning that it does not respond unless there is consciousness around them. So it's based on the same type of concepts, and quantum physics is getting very close to seeing and understanding that in the same level.
Yeah, there's so much out there about the quantum physics and the science behind it, and there's more and more scientific research. So it's becoming much more valid than it, maybe was probably even 10 years ago. Now, how did you mentioned when you were younger that it actually was overwhelming. How did you figure out that you had these abilities, and then how did you control them?
It wasn't until I was just recently, actually, maybe the past 10 years, that it was actually thanks to a friend of mine, too, that she mentioned, it's like, you have abilities, and I see you doing things later on. I see you doing things with people working. I was like, no. But because I've always been a nurse. I've been a nurse since I was 17, and I've been a nurse for 30 years. And I knew that I saw plenty of people that have been passed on and they looked just like people. I was bothered through the night by entities of all, since I can remember. I could hear noises and things and growls when I was, in older homes. And I lived in Italy, so we lived in older, very, very old places that it has so much memories and and I could pick it up, but I didn't know what it was. So I thought that that was my world. But when I communicated to other people around me, family members, then it would not be translated as something that was either acceptable or that was really happening. So I started internalizing a lot of it, and I didn't talk about it long, long time. But I had experiences of astral traveling when I was 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, which was very, very scary when you find yourself in a completely different place and you don't know how the hell you got there. So it's, sorry for using that word, but it's just,
It's okay.
it's scary. So to me, it was overwhelming. And then the fact that I not knowing what was going on, it's hard to know what to do with it. So once I heard that actually there was something you could do spiritual, this friend of mine, she introduced me to spirituality so that I could actually start understanding about some things. And then once I understood it and it made sense what I was feeling, I said, I started saying, okay, I'm ready, fine, I'll do it. And as soon as I said that, all my beings just came in and they started talking to me and giving me guidance and things like that.
You got
So,
unstuck.
yeah,
You
yes, I
right, in essence, you actually got unstuck as well. I have another question, and then
sure.
I'll let you keep going. I don't mean to interrupt at all, but
Yeah.
did your mom or grandmother or
I was
did somebody have this gift?
Yes, I was told that my mother's grandmother on my mother's side had the gift. She was the village woman to go to that would tell, things that people would go to. But it wasn't, we were raised all Catholic, so nobody talked about this kind of stuff. You can't really say what it is or what it isn't. But, or my grandmother, which I love very much, and she's passed and she's on the other side, but she used to look for malocchio, the evil eye into things and that kind of stuff. But that's as far as I knew. And when I ask questions like, oh, no, we don't talk about this stuff. We don't, nobody talks about that. So, you learn that it's more of a taboo, and you just keep it to yourself and nobody else. I never heard anybody else doing it. So on my family members, I know that a couple of my siblings, or like one of my one of my nephew can actually do this. My daughters have gifts too, but they don't choose to use them. So it's probably being passed down.
It's interesting. It's interesting that your grandmother didn't pull you aside and say, listen, this is what's going on. This is the down low. You and I just talk about this so people don't start talking like you're a mad woman, right? It's unfortunate, but think about it, your grandmother, so that was how many generations and how many years ago that she probably didn't know how to teach you or express to you, because it was taboo in that generation. How hard, right? How hard. And that's part of why we get stuck today, because we have that ancestral baggage that we're holding on to for whatever reasons. Now, another question. So you said that you heard growling like when you lived in these old houses. So I'm assuming that when you see entities, you see negative entities too. How do you do, right? How do you protect yourself? Like, stay away.
No, I don't feel that way about it, because I actually clear entities from everybody from remotely. I don't have to be in situ, to remove entities. I get people contacting me all the time. They don't scare me now because I understand it. And my team really helps. So I have a bunch of people that come in and we just take care of it, and we do it really, really quickly. I understand more about it. They're not as scary. They just use our memory storage of what we fear, that they use it against us. And it's just a system. So it's not, and protecting oneself, it lowers your frequency to a place of fear because you're fearing. So therefore you think you have to protect yourself because you don't think you can, or you don't want to, and that lowers your frequency. So I don't want to be in a place of lower frequency, because that exposes you to actually you become more palatable to a negative entity. The higher your frequency, so happiness, joy, love, and feeling content and feeling gratitude, when you're up there, you're not as palatable, because they know that you are too high to be reached. But as soon as you go in a place of fear, despair, if you're if you're depressed or if you're sad, then you can put yourself in a place where they may want to take advantage of your debilitating situation at the moment. Yeah.
So could let's say I'm depressed, or I'm in a fearful situation at work. I potentially of losing my job, whatever the negative possible circumstance. I go into fear, depression, whatever it is. If I don't have your gifts, can those entities be pulling and draining me further down without me even knowing it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So I make a point to clear as much as I can with other people as well, because I know, and even this weekend I was at an expo, and everybody that passed it, that I cross, that I see an entity on them, I get rid of it, because I know that it's, and I'm always called to do that. Like my guides tell me, go and work on that person, do this and do that. It's not that I take the initiative. I get the feeling, I hear them, and I go and I work on the person, because it hinders someone's growth. They are debilitating, because they make you believe into the fears, and oftentimes one of the main symptoms, or the very first symptoms, is that you don't feel like yourself. You feel more emotional, so you may be even more irrational and not see things the right way, and then that reaction gets you even more into the negative hole. So that's the purpose that they're doing. But for those that don't have the gift, the best thing to do is to be aware of just the few symptoms that I know. Not few, there's quite a few. So I'm going to list them now so that people can be, they can understand.
Mindful. Yeah.
Mindful of it. The first sign is that if your emotion changed just like that, and you go from being perfectly okay to feeling not yourself, to feeling sad, to feeling even angry or depressed, but you have no reason to feel that way, very likely something is hanging around your energy aura. They they start latching on you the most frequently. They usually are around the crown chakra, the back of the neck, and also the front of the chest. And those areas will make you feel, they'll give you a headache. They'll give you, if they can give you even nausea, they can make you feel like you don't want to do anything anymore. They make you feel like you really don't have the strength to do anything, to handle anything. You can get ringing in your ears as well. You can get, and also the other thing is that most of us, not most of us, all of us have spirit guides and angels that help us, and they will try to talk to us and help us to do that way, to, to find a solution to it. Oftentimes people are guided to others that can help them, the best they can.
Sure.
The best thing to do probably for someone is to find a meditation on YouTube, especially about happiness and love, and of the highest frequency that you can do, and just listen to the meditation, not a long one, just a 5 minutes one, and then listen to that meditation or music or whatever, go into that space. And when you're in that space, then call on Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, and Jesus. Those are the three people that I call to help me get rid of these beings, and just to ask them to do the job. They know what to do. You don't have to do anything. Just have them do what they need to do. If that doesn't help, then you can, after doing that, you can go into a place of trying to find a memory of the most love that you've ever felt for either someone else or yourself, or gratitude, and really get into that place. And once you're there, again, call on them again, on the three beings, and ask them to get rid of the entity. And that should usually work, pretty well.
So by going into that meditative state helps us kind of quiet our mind, so that we can call in Raphael, Saint Michael, and Jesus, and say, okay, like, help me here, because something's going on, right? I'm not really sure. But it's that quieting of the mind that allows that.
It's not that it doesn't, you don't have to be in the meditative state to call for beings to help you. It's more because then your frequency are way better. And if your frequency is higher, it works better. They can do the job better. The beings can do the job better. So it will work like just very quickly. You can still call Michael. Like, there's been times that I woke up in the middle of the night and there was something standing over me, and the first thing I was like, Michael, and just and they know to stop, and they'll stop anything, and before I could even process. So by all means, if you see something, or if you're aware of it, that there is an entity. Oftentimes, also another thing, if you ever see like dark spots floating around, I'm not talking about the floaters in the eyes, but really dark orbs floating around, those are usually negative entity. And if there is one in the house, eventually it'll find a way to you. So, just you can call on just as many angels or whoever you like, it doesn't have to be specific beings, and just ask them to clear the space as well. I usually try to envision millions of angels just filling every little nook and cranny of the house, and push all this negative energy out of the way, and just, and fill the whole house of as many angels as possible. So those are really great way to, to take care of these entities. Do
you recommend, like, do you have daily practices that you share with your, your clients, so that they can continue to do the work after they have their sessions with you?
Yes, there is actually. It depends. And that's what the book. I have a book that is going to come out soon that it's actually based on. It's a healing book. So I'm putting everything that I know and everything that I usually use to help people into all combined in one volume. And it's what I usually do with people, which is also in the book, is that I give them tools. These tools are to be used for as long as they need to, which is usually about 3 to 4 weeks. Because even though we're changing the core programming, and they get the key to change the core programming, so they get a new truth, which is the key, you still need to use tools and practices that help changing the thinking, because the thinking is automatic and it becomes almost like a habit. And if our thoughts are still those habitual thoughts, we can recreate the situation no matter how much work we've done together. So there has to be that. So some of the most common ones that I find myself giving to people is like one of my favorite one is giving yourself a break. And the giving yourself a break is where, especially for those people who tend to want to be too perfect, so they have perfectionistic tendencies, or they are very hard on themselves, they have high expectations, or that they're not very forgiving of their own mistakes, so they have fear of failure within themselves, and they're very, judgmental of themselves and everything else around. I give them to give yourself a break, because most of the time these people are very good at giving everybody else's a second chance, a third, and a fourth, and forgiving everybody. Everybody gets a break but themselves. So with that one, it's a reminder that you need to give yourself a break. And I tell them to make a card so that when they pull that out, same as like they use it in sports, like in soccer or in football, that they threw the little flag,
Yeah.
all right, time to give yourself a break. And you take yourself down from being the responsible one. You take yourself down from not forgiving yourself. You're taking yourself, you put yourself in a place where you give all the chances possible that you always give to everybody else, and you do it for you.
I'm cracking up. I'm thinking, is she getting inside my head? And she just gave that example because, oh, you described me perfectly. And I'm laughing because honestly, Simona, don't you? I think a lot of people, we're happy to give other people the push, and they were having a bad day. This happened. The mom is sick. The kid is sick. And we're happy to give them those, not excuses, but again, the push or the buy that, oh, it was a bad day. But as soon as something goes wrong or we make a mistake, we immediately start beating ourselves up, judging, why didn't I do that? I should have done that. I'm an idiot, right? Whatever that self-talk is. I think a lot of people do that. I don't think I'm alone, is what I'm saying. I think a lot of people do that.
It's really one of the number one things that I talk about.
Yeah.
And because you have trust issues, not you specifically, but attached to that, the person will definitely have trust issues, fear of failure, and self-worth, which then becomes also self-esteem. So those three things together, we're always looking to be perfect. Also because there is a bit of an enmeshment with how much I do and how much I'm going to be loved. There is a sense of, I can control my environment so that I can obtain what it is that I really want, which is to be loved for what I do. And that's the catch-all. And it's that wanting to be loved for what I do, that becomes more a job. It's not really, getting that unconditional love. Unconditional love is, we don't have to do anything. We just have to be. If we trusted that we could just be loved for just who we are, then we wouldn't have to be so busy doing and trying to be perfect at it, right? Yeah. So it stems from there. And yes, it does come from childhood and then parenting. Unfortunately, as children, we're not raised, but every child goes through a phase where parents are all over, you're provided all your needs all the time, 24/7, all your needs are answered. And at some point you become a little bit more independent. But there is that feeling that, I can control the world because I have all these needs, that all these things are coming to me always. And, even as we get older, we still kind of are attached to the idea that getting that positive feedback, getting that positive reinforcement from the parent, from doing something good, I get something that if I'm loved. And so yes, it's all of us. Many people do.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember many years ago when I first started, on just becoming a better version of myself is how I say. Not that we're not perfect the way we are. I do believe that we're all amazing. But there were things that I knew were lacking in my life, and I worked with, met her through an event and loved her. And she does Reiki healing, and through that has guides that come in and whatnot. And I remember, and this is bizarre, Simona, because I come from a very big Italian family. When I tell you love is in abundance, that there's never a loss for love, okay? Even at your worst, everybody's there to, pick you up. So love was never missing in my life personally, but I always felt I wasn't worthy of love, which was really ironic. And when people, because I wasn't abused, I had nothing negative whatever went wrong in my life like that, anything extreme. And I remember after doing work with her, I was at a networking event and I was with a mother, her daughter. So she was 40, I was in my 50s, and the woman was in her 60s, had survived cancer, and we were talking. And all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, and I was in my 50s, and I said to her, I love me. I'm a pretty nice person. And I didn't let her know, but when I tell you, I went like oh my God, I love myself. When did that happen? And I remember getting in a car, and a good friend of mine, she had not known that I had been working on this and that I had this revelation that I wasn't worthy of love. And I got in the car and I called her. Now I'm in tears going, you're never going to believe what I just said. I said it out loud. And it was such a breakthrough, and things changed. There was a huge shift in my life after that. Where it came from, don't really know, because it probably was from a past life or DNA from an ancestor, because I know we carry our DNA baggage, right? Like we were saying about your grandmother not sharing her knowledge with you. But what a breakthrough. So it happens, and you'll have moments like that where I knew there was a great shift at that moment. And I thank my friend who kind of guided me through that. So we're out of time, but I do want you briefly, the book. First of all, do we have a title of the book yet?
Well, it's actually started with 12 Keys of Healing, but I think we're going to change it to the Solution Path to Healing. And that's probably what is going to be final. And it is still 12 keys. There's 12 tools within it. And that is going to walk the person through from the beginning to end, through everything possible under the sun to get rid of as much as anyone can. And it's still in the works, meaning that we're in the editing phase and
Cool.
into putting it. So it'll probably not be coming out until February or March of next year. But that's where we're looking to do, to do the launching of the book around February of next year.
So we'll have to do another show to make sure we do it before we post, before you get the book out there. But everybody could go to your website, which I want to give. It's Simona. Yep. It's Simona Manenti. So it's SIMONAMANENTI.com. Yes?
That's correct.
And do you accept emails? Because I could post both on the Web Talk Radio website. So it's a
way to contact me through emails in my website.
Facebook.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Yeah. And Instagram and Twitter is Simona for Angels. So you can find me with that. And it's my first name, SIMONA. The number 4, and then the word angels next to it. Nice. But most people go to my website and they find me. Yeah.
Because you have all the links on your website as well. Plus you have a ton of information on the website too.
Yes, there is. Yeah. And if you want my email, is my full name, which is Simona Manenti, the number 6 @gmail.com.
Perfect. So they could reach you if they have a question, right? Okay, cool. Absolutely. And again, the book will be out February of 2019, February, March. So we have to keep an eye out for that. But we'll do a show so everybody, and here's the thing, everybody listening or watching, if you're lucky enough to watch the video and see our beautiful faces. There's a little pat on the back for us, Simona, right? Yes. I love it. But if the couple of exercises you gave, I thought were wonderful. To kind of ask for help from any of your angels, but from St. Michael, it was St. Gabriel or Raphael?
Raphael. As well, even though he may be associated to the Catholic Church, but as beings of light, they're the most powerful, and right. I wouldn't be using anybody else.
Could go right, get the biggest source, right? The biggest person or entity that can help you. Yeah. So I think they're really good, and also I like how you said kind of get into a higher vibration, then ask for help, so you could kick the bad energy, because really that's what we're talking about. It's just energy that possibly attaches to us. So just knock it to the curb is what we're talking about. Yeah. So thank you for those tips. More to come with the book. More on your website. Again, I'm on with you on Facebook, and you post so many wonderful things. Thank you. Little pieces of information. You had a short video recently. So again, everybody check out SimonaManenti.com, and then you could follow her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your connection is. Guys, if you need me either for business, anything for business, or you need to ask me a question personally, again, about business or coaching or you leading or whatever, sales, my specialty, please reach out to me directly on my email, which is Connie@WhitmanAssociates.com. And I do respond to that personally. And I'm always here to help. Again, I'm put on this earth to help people in the business realm. I'm not as gifted as you with the spiritual realm.
Beautiful. And I thank you.
Yeah, I think people make work too difficult. And I think if we have a little more fun and we just learn a couple of skills on how to communicate a little more effectively, I think that we make our life easier, both personally and professionally. So that's, that's kind of what I'm all about, Simona. Again, reach out to SimonaManenti.com to find her. And Simona, thank you so much for being on. To me, this is inspiring. You gave me a couple of new tools, and I can't wait for the book now. I should get a signed copy, by the way, just saying. I think you're frozen, Simona, but I'm going to wrap up. Yeah, you're unfrozen now. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you so much. This was absolutely fantastic. I love you. You're awesome.
I love you too. Back at you, sister. A great show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. All
yes.
Right. Bye.
I hope stay on for a minute. I hope you guys will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together how to grow and challenge ourselves and embrace change, or create the change that we might need to get to the next level of our own perfection, joy, happiness, all of those things that Simona and I talked about today. Thank you again, Simona, for being just an amazing guest. A real pleasure today.
Same here. Take care.
Thank you.
Connie. Bye.
You too. Bye, Simona. You guys have been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.net. I wish you all a wonderful and inspiring week. Go out and try some of the exercise Simona shared with us today, and maybe your life will become just a little bit more joyous and happy. Thanks, everybody.